Well, hi YouTubers. What I intend to do over the next few days is do a few stories that I get regularly from the National Secular Society, and it's a great little source of information and interesting stories of a religious bent, as it were, or a secular bent. And interestingly, the first story I wish to cover is something which I've just found today, is a Californian lawyer has proposed a Sodomite Suppression Act. Yes, a Sodomite Suppression Act. He warned about God's just wrath, and should the state of California not put homosexuals to death. Yeah. The lawyer who is proposing the legislation, Matt McLaughlin, says buggery and sodomy are an abominable crime against nature and a monstrous evil that Almighty God, giver of freedom and liberty, commands us to suppress on the pain of our utter destruction. We see this quite a lot amongst the deeply religious, and it is a problem in the sense that it becomes very difficult to defend against that sort of reasoning. And it's unbelievable, really, that it should even get to the point where it wants to actually put the act into a government policy. It says the sodomistic propaganda is defined as anything aimed at creating an interest in or an acceptance of human sexual relations other than between a man and a woman. Every offender shall be fined $1 million per occurrence and or imprisoned up to 10 years and or expelled from the boundaries of the state of California for up to life. Very reasonable man, isn't he, Mr. McLaughlin? Now, basically he's saying that if they don't suppress homosexuals, then God's wrath will cause things like earthquakes. Earthquakes in California, you'd imagine it. And we see this a lot. We saw it in Britain last year or so when a councillor said things like the floods that we had last year were caused by homosexual activity. Well, if that was, of course, the case, then you could take homosexuals and you could put them in a place where they really could do with a lot of water, areas of drought, desert or whatever. It would be a fabulous way of controlling the weather, wouldn't it? But the sort of thinking of these people's minds doesn't take that into account at all. And it's another, showing how indoctrination changes people's minds into sort of jelly. It's kind of incredible, isn't it? So, and this thing about God's wrath constantly. We also saw it within Islam, for instance. There was a case where they had bad earthquakes in Islam, and one of the imams, a very top senior imam at that, said that women not covering up their hair properly was causing earthquakes, and watching men on a football pitch and things like that. Insanity, utter insanity, and there is no way that we should ever take these people seriously. And the fact that they've even got to the stage of proposing these things within law says a lot about the state's the way that religion has got into the political system and the political people that we have to worry about, really. I'll see if I've got anything else to say about this guy. Bear with me. Okay, what else does this act say? Well, it adds that sodomistic propaganda is defined by anything aimed at creating an interest or acceptance of human sexual relations other than between a man and a woman. It also says that no person shall serve in any public office, nor serve, excuse me, in public employment, nor enjoy any public benefits, who is a sodomite, or who espouses sodomistic propaganda, or who belongs to any group that does. The proposal contains a clause that the law may not be invalidated until heard by a quorum of the Supreme Court of California, consisting of only of judges who are neither sodomites nor subject to disqualification hereunder. I shouldn't really laugh, really. It's quite insane. Seeing that it is better that the offenders should die rather than okay, I'll say that again. Seeing that it is better that offenders should die rather than all of us should be killed by God's just wrath against us for the folly of tolerating wickedness in our midst, the people of California wisely command in the fear of God that any person who willingly touches another person of the same gender for purposes of sexual gratification to be put to death by bullets to the head or by any other convenient method. Yes. Now, McLaughlin, he must now collect over 35,000 signatures for his proposed ballot initiative in order for it to actually appear on the ballot paper. However, the California Attorney General is seeking permission from a state court to reject the proposed initiative, which is probably very wise. I don't think this will come to anything, obviously. It would be insane. But the fact that it's actually there at all and being proposed just shows you into the mindset of the people that we are against. And I say against, of course we're against such things. I don't really have to explain again, but homosexuality, I will, homosexuality is something which you're generally born with. The fact that I'm not a homosexual, and the fact that you could put 100 men in front of me stark naked and I'd still be looking round going, shame there's no women here, isn't there? Is, because they wouldn't interest me. It doesn't interest, obviously, if you're heterosexual, homosexual men don't interest you. Now, what is weird, and something that I often think about, as it were, that these people that seem to think that homosexuality is something which is a choice, obviously in their minds they are thinking to themselves, actually he's quite nice, I quite like him. I have the feeling, and this is why we often say that people that go on about homosexuals are often homosexual themselves. I know I'm talking about it, but I'm talking about it for different reasons. The fact that they really can't see why you can't be cured from it, the fact that it's something which they expect all men to feel, really just say to me they probably have homosexual or bisexual tendencies themselves, and they are suppressing themselves through a cultural thing. That's my guess, because as a heterosexual, a full heterosexual, I can't honestly see what the problem is. It's not bothering me. Obviously, if there's not a victim in it, in the case, it's not forced rape or anything like that, which is wrong, obviously. If it's consenting adults, etc., I can't see why they have to keep going on about it. This is ridiculous to say that, there's going to be an earthquake, for instance, within California, and that will be the wrath of God. In the past, there have been lots and lots of earthquakes in various areas, and once again, they probably blamed it on gay men. There has been a lot of, there was a time when they suppressed gay men in the same way that they're proposing here, with rather nasty punishments. But that didn't stop earthquakes, did it? It didn't stop natural disasters. Now, if it had, they would have had some evidence for it, but of course it doesn't stop these things, and so therefore, what a load of nonsense. Balderdash. And I'm sure most of you agree with me. Of course you will. But, you know, there's still people that think this way out there, and that is frightening. And these people crawl themselves into political, or in this case, a lawyer. They're up there amongst the top people, and they have to be watched. So the National Secular Society does at least watch what's going on and reports it. And that's what I'm doing here today. So I hope it's only been a short video. I don't want to go on too much about it because I've got others to make. But peace for now, and tune in again tomorrow. Just one little piece that I missed out. Indiana has recently passed a religious freedoms bill that would allow discrimination against homosexuals. The American Civil Liberties Union said the legislation appears to invite the use of religion to discriminate, including the basis of sexual orientation and gender identity. So that just goes to prove that these things do actually get taken seriously, and they do end up being passed by the rather weirdly religious right-wingers. Once again, peace and out.